Listen, if what I'm about to tell you is true, then tonight is the night the world changes. The Vatican isn't sleeping. Its stones are holding their breath. Long corridors stretch into shadow, marble echoing with the softest footsteps, and somewhere inside that silence, a lamp flickers in a small papal chapel, as if a heartbeat is pulsing in the light. Pope Leo XIV has sent everyone away. Everyone but one voice he trusts when all the others rise with ambition. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. The Pope's shoulders are heavy. His eyes are tired, but his faith still burns. He kneels first. Tagle kneels beside him, rosary in hand, a crucifix watching them from above like a witness carved from heaven. And then, something happens that neither man has the words to hold. "Pray aloud tonight," Leo whispers, the way a father whispers when he's reached the end of his strength. Tagle nods, breath steady, lips parting to begin the familiar prayer he has prayed 1,000 times. But the sound that fills the chapel, oh God, it isn't his. It isn't human. It isn't the voice of a man at all. It's deeper than thunder, softer than a mother's mercy, older than language, and yet every syllable slices through the heart with perfect clarity. Not Latin, not any tongue either of them has studied. It rolls through stone, through bone, through memory, as if eternity itself just exhaled. The flame bends sideways without wind. The marble hums. The crucifix trembles, just so. And both men know, instantly, exactly what every saint knows when heaven draws near. This presence is not of us. Leo's breath catches. Tears surge before he can stop them. Tagle's fingers loosen. The rosary spills, beads skittering like small comets across the floor. His lips move, but the voice pouring through the room is not his. Not his. Not his. "Lord, it is you," the Pope whispers, and something inside him breaks open. Not in fear, not in panic, in recognition. The fear you run from is not the holy fear you kneel for. And tonight, both men kneel for it. Another resonance crashes through the chapel like a bell struck inside their chests. 3 fragments, like shards of a single thought, press into the air. Not his, not voices, mine. The lamp flares white, then steadies. Silence falls like a mantle, thick and absolute. Tagle collapses forward, gasping, voice returning in torn threads. "Holy Father, what happened to me?" Leo's hands are shaking as he lifts him. "Through you, Luis. Through you, it was him." And what can you say when parchment slides from beneath a sacred altar by no human hand and writes in wet, new ink right in front of your eyes? The letters gleam as if drawn by light itself. Not his voice. You heard mine. Tagle's knees buckle again. Leo lifts the parchment like it's a newborn, a trembling miracle in black ink. He reads, and when he looks up his face is different. Not younger, not older. Stripped. He is a man standing where the veil is thin. "We did not imagine this," he whispers. He has spoken. Here. The lamp bows toward the crucifix as if fire itself is worshipping, and a second line burns onto the page, letter by letter, as they watch, not alone, not for you, for all. The room holds its breath, and then the world begins to wake. Servants whisper in corridors. The Swiss guard trade glances they can't explain. Secretaries see the Pope's face and forget their schedules. Rumors become shapes. Voices in the night, trembling hands, a cardinal staggering with prayers spilling from his mouth. By morning, the College of Cardinals assembles, a tide of red and breath and tension, half devotion, half dread. "Holy Father," one voice cuts through the hall, "do you deny it?" Leo's tears rise again, unstoppable. "I do not." The chamber ruptures, gasps, prayers, anger tangled together. Some cry fraud, others cry miracle. And then Tagle tries to speak. His voice shakes like a door in a storm. "It was not mine." "Then whose?" Another snaps, frightened, cornered. The answer is small, and it turns the room into a furnace. Heavens! Leo places the knight's parchment on the table. Ink still dark, edges still damp. He reads. A wave crashes through the hall. A few men seize their seats to stay upright. A few fall to their knees before they know they're falling. And at the far end, God help us, the crucifix groans. Its shadow bends where shadows cannot bend, stretching, crawling, reaching toward the Holy Father as if memory itself has come alive. Paper slides again, right there on the Pope's desk, as a room full of learned men forgets how knowledge works and remembers how awe begins. Another message, the kind that rewrites maps and titles and tribes. Not Rome alone. Not the Church alone. All. The word detonates in the soul, and suddenly authority is not a crown to hold. It is a cross you fear to lift, even as you know you must. What do you do when obedience will cause chaos and disobedience will cause betrayal? You choose obedience. You let the storm come. You refuse to betray the one who spoke. Leo steps onto the balcony at noon because hiding is a sin in the face of a gift made for the world. St. Peter's Square, shoulder to shoulder, faces upturned, cameras ready, hearts unready, falls quiet as the curtains breathe. He steps forward, thinner, brighter, leaking tears like light. Tagle at his side, undone. My children, the Pope says, and his voice cracks over the syllables. Last night the Lord spoke, not through me, through him, he points, and I heard. A gasp moves like wind over water. Some drop to stone. Some cover their mouths, because when you hear truth, you remember your first language. Wonder. Not Rome alone, Leo says, every word heavier than marble. Not the Church alone. All. Not ours to hoard. Not ours to sell. Not ours to cage. Given. Given for the world. And the world, oh the world, answers. Manila's streets overflow. Rosaries lifted high. Songs climbing buildings like vines. In Buenos Aires, people flood stadiums. Not for goals, for God, crying together until the sound becomes a single river. In Lagos, in Seoul, in Nairobi, in Lima, voices rise that had forgotten they could rise. Berlin, where skepticism wears a polished suit, loosens its tie and whispers through tears it cannot explain. Tokyo pauses at noon. Men in suits kneel on sidewalks, and the city remembers it's made of human hearts before it's made of steel and glass. New York's pulse slows. Times Square becomes a chapel. Strangers interlace fingers and cry a word they did not plan. And in Jerusalem, the impossible happens because the necessary arrives. Jews. Christians, Muslims stand shoulder to shoulder. The old walls between them stunned into silence by a sound that doesn't ask permission to heal. Credo. I believe. I believe. I believe. Inside the Vatican, the phones scream. The inbox floods. Bishops beg for instruction. The cardinals split like a sea that does not know which wind to obey. This is disorder, one hisses. If this is disorder, another weeps, may it drown me. I have never felt so close to heaven. In the papal study, Leo sits with shoulders shaking, light shimmering in his eyes like a coal that refuses to die. Tagle is kneeling, his rosary broken, beads like seeds thrown into new soil. Cardinal Sarah stands in prayer that sounds like thunder learning to speak softly. The Secretary of State lifts a tablet with hands that won't stop trembling. Holy Father, it's not only Rome. Look, screens bloom, oceans of faces across continents, one syllable woven into one sound, like breath, like mercy. Like the first word at the dawn of the world, I called, the new inscription says, on a stone fragment that wasn't there yesterday and won't be here tomorrow. Letters burning, fading, leaving meaning behind like fire leaves warmth. They answered. Tagle presses his forehead to the desk. Holy Father, what happens when everyone has answered? Leo's eyes glimmer with that stubborn coal. Then, Luis, heaven will speak again, and it does. Not with a trumpet, not with a crown, with a tear. Across the world, at the same moment, the sky forgets how to be ordinary. Over Rome, the clouds gather, not black, not storm, radiant living color, hues without names. Skyscrapers in Hong Kong hum with aurora. The Sahara shimmers as if light were water and the desert remembers the sea. Sydney's shoreline becomes a choir. In Moscow, Red Square trembles with voices that once only trembled with marching boots. Scientists try to measure a prayer and break into it instead. A news anchor drops her script and finds her own soul right where she left it. A pilot at 30,000 feet wipes tears and swears he can feel a word shaking the sky. Statues weep. Icons glisten. Wood runs with water where no rain has fallen. Not one, not a few, countless. Humanity weeps, and heaven weeps back. Leo returns to the balcony because joy is a command and witness is not optional. His voice is thin, but it carries like seed on wind. This light is not mine, it is his. These tears are not mine, they are his. Not Rome alone. Not the church alone. All. The last fragment on his desk breaks into dust, and the balcony rail holds the final engraving for a breath longer than time. Now all. Now one. The square roars, not applause, prayer, rolling and rolling until the very stones sound like they're singing. Tagle clutches Leo's robe, sobbing with the relief of a man who knows the burden has moved from his mouth to the world's heart. Sarah's prayer becomes a drumbeat that carries a whole people across a threshold. The Secretary of State, architect of protocols, covers his face, undone by a God who isn't bound by protocols. Bells ring where there are no hands. Pigeons flash white, small messengers in a sky that has remembered how to wonder. And then, like the last note of a hymn held so long it makes your ribs ache, silence. In that holy hush, the carved face atop the basilica grows wet. One tear slides, catches the impossible light, falls, and when it hits stone it rings like a bell that calls the world to supper. On every continent in the same breath, crosses drip, icons shine, statues glisten. Not spectacle, Leo whispers, not politics, not strategy, only the gospel, only you. He turns from the rail, and there is a quiet in his eyes that tells the truth. He was never the keeper of this fire. He was the lantern. The flame belongs to God, and now to us. And still, the word spreads, like dawn chasing the last corners of night. Villages, cathedrals, prisons, hospitals, markets. Children who have never learned the creed find it sitting on their tongues like a gift that arrived in the dark. Old men who promised never to feel again suddenly feel. Women who carry entire families on their backs lay those families down before a God whose hands are stronger. A man in a cell, a nurse at a bed, a soldier in a rain-soaked field, a widow at a kitchen sink. One word, same word, true word. Not taught, called. Now listen closely, because even as the world trembles with faith, the ancient enemy stirs. Where there is fire, there will be wind. Where there is unity, there will be voices trying, desperately to fracture it. In backrooms, plans hiss. In cold offices, documents shuffle. Control it. Delay it. Explain it away. Some fear losing power more than they fear losing God. But grace has a way of making plans into footnotes. And when the author writes in living ink, footnotes fade. Night again. The lamp in the chapel burns low. The marble remembers. The crucifix is still. Leo's fingers hover over the scattered beads of Tagle's rosary, as if gathering them could gather the moment. Tagle's voice, ragged but steady now. If he speaks again, and the words cut us in ways we did not expect, do we still obey? Leo's answer is barely a breath. Especially then. A soft scrape from beneath the altar. Familiar, impossible. Another parchment. Another line. Not comfort, command, not mine alone. Yours, not belief alone. Mercy, not word alone. Witness, and there it is, the cost. The beauty was never the end. The beauty was the beginning that arms you for the work. So the Holy Father rises, and he is old again, and yet somehow younger than when the sun fell. He places the parchment close to his heart. We must go where the cry is weak, he says, to the corners where guitars are silent and gospel is rumor. Tagle nods, tears renewing, not of fear now, of resolve. Sarah's voice rumbles from the doorway, steady as bedrock. Then we will go, and if the doors close, we will bless the hinges. The Secretary of State steps in, eyes red, hands open. Tell me what to carry. And in that quiet, simple moment, you hear the true church learning again how to be small enough for the Spirit to wield. Outside, the square hums like a sleeping choir. Inside, heaven leans close. The lamp bows. Somewhere in the basilica, a 1,000-year stone releases a sigh you can't hear but somehow feel. And somewhere far from Rome, in a kitchen, in a shelter, on a rooftop, a single person who thought they were beyond reach hears a syllable rise in their chest like a sunrise. And for the first time in years, they say it out loud. Credo. But listen, don't exhale yet, because the story is not finished. In the shadows of ancient halls, a file is slid across a table. 3 signatures wait on the last page, thin as lies and twice as dangerous. Containment protocol, it reads. Event classification unknown. A pen hovers, and then a wind. No, a breath moves the curtains though no window is open. The pen rolls off the page and onto the floor. Somewhere above the ceiling, bells that no one is ringing begin to ring. And in the chapel, that little room that keeps defying the math of miracles, the lamp flame leans toward the crucifix as if to whisper, prepare. Because when the second word comes, when the breath of God presses through human lips again, it will not be for spectacle, not for headlines, not for proof. It will be for the one person who feels invisible right now. It will be for the last heart we almost forgot to love. It will be for you, and the next beat, the next breath, the next turning of the world is closer than it feels, and the world waits. The world waits like a chest that's just inhaled and hasn't exhaled yet. Every city, every village, every alley, every cathedral is holding something it cannot name. The streets hum with it. The air vibrates with it. Radios left on in empty kitchens crackle faintly with echoes that aren't being broadcast. Statues glisten. Rosaries feel heavier in the hand. Even atheists, yes, even they, wake in the night with a sound in their throat they swore they'd never speak. Something is moving. Something greater than fear, greater than control, greater than Rome itself. In the Vatican, the Pope rises from prayer like a man who knows the dawn has teeth. He is trembling, but his trembling is holy. The ember in his eyes, still there, steady, burning like a coal that refuses to go out. Tagle beside him, voice raw, lips cracked, rosary broken. Yet his face carries the look of a man marked forever by the fire that borrowed his mouth. Sarah follows like a tower carved from stone, his silence louder than sermons. And the Secretary of State, he no longer strategizes. He listens, he weeps, he obeys. Word has spread faster than any courier, faster than any papal bull. It leaps across borders as if passports never existed. In São Paulo, mothers who have nothing cook rice for strangers simply because the word compelled them. In Ghana, schoolchildren walk barefoot across fields just to kneel together and cry credo under the open sky. In Siberia, frost-bitten soldiers carve crosses into snow and whisper the syllable through chattering teeth. In Manila, jeepneys stop in the middle of crowded streets. Drivers and passengers abandon their routes, stand together in traffic and cry one sound that melts horns into hymns. And yet, not everyone kneels. Not everyone weeps. In shadowed chambers, high-backed chairs creak beneath men who scowl at headlines and burn letters in ashtrays. They whisper words like control and containment and stability. Their hands shake, not with awe, but with rage, because power built on fear cannot coexist with unity built on faith. And so the plots thicken, the ink darkens, documents multiply, and in Rome itself, whispers of schism stalk the marble. But you cannot hide what heaven has loosed, not with threats, not with prisons, not with silence, for even the silence now belongs to him. One evening, oh, mark this evening, the Pope returns to the chapel, alone this time. The lamp burns steady. The crucifix looms. He lays the parchment on the altar. His voice shakes, but he dares. Lord, you spoke once. Speak again. His words hang in the air like incense without smoke. For a moment, nothing. No sound, no tremor, only his heartbeat loud enough to hear in his own ears. And then, like a wave that began before time, a wind. No window open. No door ajar. Yet the flame leans, bows. The crucifix shudders, and on the altar, without pen, without hand, letters etch themselves in burning light. This time the words do not merely glow, they blaze, and they carve deeper than ink, deeper than parchment, they sear into the very stone of the altar itself. Prepare. Leo falls forward, undone. His tears pool on the marble, steaming faintly as if even sorrow now burns. His voice breaks against the stone. How, Lord? How do we prepare for what the world will not believe? And then, a second line, sharp as thunder, gentle as breath, appears. With mercy, the Pope's shoulders quake. His fingers grip the altar. He understands. This is not a warning of spectacle, not a promise of fire for fire's sake. It is a command, to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to forgive enemies, to lift the broken, to bear the cross when the world laughs. That is the preparation heaven demands. But outside, the world is not ready, and shadows gather. Reporters claw for access. Governments draft statements. Even bishops, torn in two, argue until their voices shake the walls of their own chambers. Fraud, miracle, delusion, revelation. Some threaten resignation. Others threaten worse. Yet, in the streets, the poor already understand. The sick already obey. The forgotten already kneel. And their faith shakes the foundations of marble halls more than all the shouting cardinals combined. A storm brews above Rome, but it is no ordinary storm. Clouds rise not dark, but radiant, curling with strange colors that ripple like living fire. Pilgrims cry out. Journalists stumble backward, their cameras trembling in their hands. Bells across the city toll wildly without hands. And from the dome of St. Peter's, pigeons scatter in a great circle of white wings. The Pope steps onto the balcony once more, hands raised, face streaked with tears that glow faintly even in stormlight. His voice carries, not by microphone, not by echo, but by something deeper, something older. Children of God. He speaks, he calls. He prepares us not with swords, not with armies, but with mercy. The word shatters into 1,000 hearts. Some cheer, some collapse, some run in terror, but all know they will never be the same again. And then the skies break, not with rain, with light. Rivers of fire without heat pour across the heavens, folding and unfolding like curtains of gold. Cities miles away see it. Deserts glow. Seas shimmer. The world gasps. And from the crucifix atop St. Peter's Basilica, a second tear falls. This one not water. This one blood. It strikes the stone with a sound that rattles the bones of everyone. Tagle collapses to his knees beside the Pope, sobbing uncontrollably. Sarah raises both hands, eyes ablaze, voice booming prayers that drown out even thunder. The Secretary of State presses his face to the marble. undone. And Pope Leo, his whole body shaking, cries out into the roar, "Lord Jesus Christ! Not Rome alone, not the Church alone, all." The crowd explodes. The word rises again, Credo, 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 until the earth itself seems to throb with it. Scientists later will call it mass resonance. Politicians will call it hysteria. But those who were there, those who wept, those who trembled, those who collapsed onto cobblestones, they will call it what it was, the moment heaven brushed earth with fire. And yet, it is only the beginning, because the parchment on the altar has not stopped. Even as the Pope weeps on the balcony, words continue to etch themselves in fire, not just for him, not just for Tagle, for the world, a prophecy, a summons, a command that will shake governments, topple empires, and open wounds in the Church itself. The ink burns deeper, letter by letter, slow, deliberate, as though the hand of God himself is tracing them for the last time, when all are one. Then I shall come. The words glow, burn, fade, and yet remain carved forever in the stone. The Pope's tears fall harder. The square below roars louder. The skies above blaze brighter. And the world waits again, 'cause everyone knows the second word has come, and the third, oh, the third, will not be far behind.